Netscape Navigator. Before Chrome killed anyone, there was a murder that made Chrome possible, and the victim's fingerprints are still all over the internet you use today. In 1995, Netscape Navigator ruled the web. 90% of everyone online used it. If you wanted the internet, you wanted Netscape. The company was so hot, its founders landed on magazine covers. Then Microsoft did something brutally simple. It built Internet Explorer and gave it away free, bundled inside every copy of Windows. Why would anyone download a browser when one came with the computer? By 1999, Internet Explorer owned 99% of the market. Netscape was a corpse. It officially died in early 2008, just months before a new browser from Google quietly appeared. But here's where it gets strange. Netscape never really left. Its dying company open-sourced the code and created Mozilla, which later built Firefox. And back in its golden years, Netscape invented a little programming language called JavaScript, the exact language Google would later supercharge to make Chrome the fastest browser alive. The ghost handed the killer his weapon. And that trick Microsoft used, bundling a free browser where everyone already was? Somebody at Google was paying very close attention. Internet Explorer. 99% of the internet. That's what Microsoft owned by 1999. Every office, every school, every home computer opened the web through that little blue letter E. Internet Explorer wasn't winning the browser war. The war was over. And that's exactly what killed it. Because kings who can't lose stop fighting. Microsoft let its browser rot. 5 full years passed between Internet Explorer 6 and 7. 5 years of the same slow, insecure, developer-tormenting software, while the web around it exploded. People didn't love Internet Explorer. They tolerated it, like traffic. Then, September 2008, Google releases Chrome, and it attacks with one weapon: speed. Its V8 engine ran websites so much faster, it felt like switching from dial-up all over again. Each tab ran separately, so one crashed page no longer took the whole browser down with it. And Google advertised it in the one place Internet Explorer users visited every single day: the Google homepage, the most visited page on Earth, whispering, "There's something better." The king never woke up. On June 15, 2022, Microsoft officially pulled the plug. Internet Explorer died at 26. The most dominant software in history, remembered mostly as the thing you used once to download Chrome, Flock and Rockmelt. While Google was building for speed, two startups looked at the internet and saw a completely different future. They asked, what do people actually do online all day? The answer was obvious: Facebook, Twitter, social media. So why not build the browser around it? Flock came first, a browser with your feeds, friends, and photo sharing built directly into the interface. Tech blogs loved the idea. Then in 2010 came Rockmelt, and this one had serious muscle behind it. Backed by Netscape's own co-founder, Mark Andreessen. The ghost was funding revenge. Rockmelt put Facebook chat right in the browser's edge, so your friends were always one pixel away. For a moment, it genuinely felt like the future. It wasn't. Flock died in April 2011. Rockmelt shut its browser down in 2013, got bought by Yahoo, and by August that year, it was completely gone. Total lifespan, about 3 years. Here's what they got wrong. People didn't want a browser that did more. They wanted a browser that did less, faster. Chrome-loaded pages. That's it. No feeds, no chat, no clutter. The startups bet the future of browsing was social. The future of browsing was a blank page that loaded instantly. Opera. Here's the cruel part. The most innovative browser in this entire war never got to enjoy any of it. Tabs? Opera invented those. Speed dial, that grid of shortcuts on every new tab you've used 1,000 times? Opera. Mouse gestures, pop-up blocking, built-in search? Opera did it first, years before anyone else. Every browser you've ever loved was quietly running on Opera's ideas. But being first doesn't pay the bills. Opera built everything on its own engine, called Presto. And a browser engine is brutally expensive. Thousands of engineers, constant updates, keeping up with every new web standard. Google could afford that army. Microsoft could afford that army. Opera, a small Norwegian company, could not. So in 2013, Opera did something no major browser had done before. It surrendered. It threw away Presto, its own engine, its heart, and rebuilt itself on top of Chromium, the open-source foundation of Chrome itself. The browser kept its name, its red logo, its loyal fans, but underneath it was now running on its rival's machinery. Opera didn't die like the others. It's still here today, sitting under 2% of the market. The body kept walking, but the soul, the thing that made Opera, gone. Buried in 2013, UC Browser. There was a browser with over 500 million users, and most people watching this have never opened it once. While America argued about Chrome versus Firefox, UC Browser was quietly conquering the other half of the planet. India, Indonesia, Pakistan. Across Asia, UC Browser was king. And it earned that crown honestly. It was built for the real world, cheap phones and expensive, unreliable data. It compressed web pages down to a fraction of their size, so pages loaded fast even on weak connections and barely touched your data plan. For hundreds of millions of people, UC Browser wasn't an alternative to Chrome. Chrome was the alternative. At its peak, it was beating Chrome in India, the second largest internet market on Earth. Then it died in a single announcement, June 2020. Rising tensions between India and China boil over, and India bans dozens of Chinese-owned apps overnight. UC Browser, owned by China's Alibaba, was on the list. Its largest market, gone, not lost to competition, deleted by decree. Every other browser in this graveyard was beaten by Chrome. Outspent, outpaced, or absorbed. UC Browser is the strange exception. The one opponent Chrome never had to defeat, because two governments settled the match instead. Microsoft Edge, the original. Microsoft doesn't lose gracefully. After watching Chrome dismantle Internet Explorer for years, the empire decided to strike back. In 2015, it launched a brand new browser. New name, Edge. New logo. A completely new engine called Edge HTML, built from scratch to be fast, modern, everything Internet Explorer wasn't, and Microsoft played its oldest, deadliest card. Edge came pre-installed on every single Windows 10 machine on the planet. The exact move that murdered Netscape 20 years earlier. And it did not matter. At all. People booted their new computers, opened Edge exactly once, typed 5 words into the search bar, download Chrome. Edge, a genuinely decent browser, became the world's most expensive Chrome installer. The bundling trick that once conquered 99% of the internet couldn't even hold 4% of it. The weapon had expired. By 2018, Microsoft faced the unthinkable. Keep burning fortunes on an engine nobody used, or give up. It gave up. The new Edge was rebuilt on Chromium, Google's foundation. And in April 2021, Microsoft force-deleted the original Edge from every PC through a Windows update. The empire that once owned the entire browser world now ships Google's engine with a Microsoft logo on top. The Second Army didn't fall in battle. It defected. The mass grave. Not every browser gets a full funeral. Some get a line in the obituaries. So here's the mass grave, rapid fire. Maxthon, a Chinese browser with a genuinely loyal following in the early 2000s, packed with cloud syncing before syncing was cool. It fought with its own dual-engine setup, then quietly gave up and rebuilt on Chromium. Still technically alive. Nobody can prove it. Torch. If you were a teenager in 2013, you had this. The browser with a built-in YouTube downloader and torrent client. It felt like getting away with something. It was also just Chromium wearing a leather jacket. Dead. Yahoo Access. Yes, Yahoo made a browser. It launched in 2012 and died about a year later. The most impressive thing Access ever did is that you're learning it existed right now in a video about dead browsers. And Dolphin. Before Chrome came to phones, Dolphin was the mobile browser. Gesture controls, drawing a letter on your screen to open a website, it felt like the future in your pocket. Then Google shipped Chrome on every Android phone by default, and Dolphin evaporated almost overnight. 4 browsers, 4 different strategies, same ending, and these were just the small graves. The next one hurts. Firefox. One soldier is still on the battlefield, bloodied, outnumbered, funded by the enemy, and refusing to fall. Firefox rose from Netscape's ashes with one mission: break Internet Explorer's monopoly, and it worked. Firefox was the rebellion. Faster, safer, open source, built by a non-profit instead of a trillion-dollar empire. By the late 2000s, it held around 30% of the entire web. Firefox saved the internet. That's not an exaggeration. That's history. Then its own ally turned on it. Google spent years promoting Firefox, paying to be its default search engine, until 2008, when Google decided it didn't need a champion anymore. It built its own. And Chrome ate Firefox alive, year after year, point after point. 30% became 20, 20 became 10. Today, Firefox sits around 2% and still sliding. But here's the darkest detail in this entire war. Firefox is the last major browser running its own independent engine against Chrome. The final holdout, and most of the money keeping it alive, comes from Google, still paying to be Firefox's default search engine. Read that again. The last soldier fighting Chrome gets his rations from Chrome's owner, not dead. Bleeding out slowly, kept breathing by its killer, Arc. If you think this war ended years ago, this grave was dug in 2025. The dirt is still soft. Arc was supposed to be the one. A startup called the Browser Company looked at Chrome and said the quiet part out loud: browsers haven't changed in 20 years. So they rebuilt everything. Sidebar tabs, workspaces that organized your entire digital life, a design so slick that tech influencers wouldn't shut up about it. Invites were traded like concert tickets. For a moment, Arc was the coolest software on earth. Then the company checked the numbers. The features everyone raved about? Barely 5 to 12% of users actually touched them. Everyone else just wanted a browser. And Arc had another problem: no real way to make money. Chrome is free because Google owns the search engine behind it. Arc was free and owned nothing. May 27, 2025. Development frozen. October 2025. Atlassian buys the whole company for $610 million, and the entire team walks away to build Dia, an AI browser. Arc still opens today. Still works. A ghost ship receiving security patches, sailing nowhere. And the punchline hiding underneath it all? Arc, the great Chrome rebel, was built on Chromium. The rebellion ran on the Empire's engine. The twist. Now for the part that reframes everything you just watched. Go download a Chrome alternative right now. Edge, Opera, Brave, Vivaldi, Samsung Internet, even Arc, the frozen rebel. Open any of them, and underneath the logo, you'll find the same thing. Chromium, Google's engine. Every single alternative is Chrome wearing a costume. Count the survivors with me. Out of every browser engine ever built, exactly 3 are still alive on this planet. Google's Chromium, Apple's WebKit, and Firefox's Gecko, hanging on at 2%. That's it. That's what's left of a war that once had a dozen armies. And Safari? The one fighter that never fell? Look closer. Safari survived because it never entered the ring. It's the locked-in default on every iPhone. The exact play Internet Explorer ran in the 90s. Not a winner. A landlord. So Chrome holds about 70% of the market, and most of the remaining 30% is running Chrome's skeleton under different skin. When websites are built today, they're built for Chromium first. Google doesn't just have the biggest browser. It quietly decides how the entire web works. Here's the thought to leave with. Microsoft got dragged into court in 1998 for bundling one browser with one operating system. Google bundled its browser with Search, with Android, with YouTube, with the entire internet. And this time, the world just clicked accept. But dead browsers are just the beginning. Entire companies, worth billions, destroyed by one single decision. The full list of tech's most expensive mistakes is right here. Click it. See you inside.